everybody, it's Dana. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and blog. I'm playing with some distressed inks today, Spice Marmalade, Fossilized Amber, and Broken China. I'm also going to be using a really large background stamp from My Favorite Things. This one has a lot of texture to it. It is a tribal background and I absolutely love it for the texture. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is just regular watercolor paper. I went ahead and sped up this video because I have several techniques I'm going to be doing today and I didn't want this video to take forever. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with the Broken China, and I'm going to go right down the middle of this large background stamp. So you can really see the texture already that you get off of this stamp. So next I'm going to come in with the Fossilized Amber. Now you're going to see I got some of that blue onto the yellow, but it's okay. I'm just going to grab a paper towel and I'm just going to rub off that color, and voila, all gone. We're good. So next I'm going to go ahead and grab that spiced marmalade and I'm going to go ahead and put that up into the background. Now, I know some people might worry about the cross contaminations of colors on your ink pad, but I'm okay with that. I'm definitely okay. That just means I've been happily playing in my stamp room. So I'm just going to press down really good to make sure I get a good impression. And now I have all of that pretty color, and it mixed with the oranges and the blue mixed and the yellow and the blue mix. It gave me like a pretty green. I'm just going to spritz some shimmer mist on there just to kind of activate those colors just a little bit and give me just a tad bit of sparkle. You can't really see it, but it's there, I promised. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I heat set this back just a little bit. Now, I probably should have spritzed this with water because the next thing I'm going to do is really going to cover up some of that sparkle. So after I had heat set everything, I'm like, Dana, you wasted the sparkle, honey boo. But it's okay. It's okay because we're going to add sparkle back on top. So now I'm going to use my regular distressed inks. I'm going to use Squeezed Lemonade, Wild Honey, and Broken China. So now for this technique, I'm just going to use my regular blending tool. Oh, tongue-tied right there. And I'm just going to come in and add that yellow right on top of that fossilized amber. And it's really going to make that color pop. So it really brings out those hash marks and that texture in my card panel. I actually love how this card turned out, and I made quite a few of them to give out to some family members. Next, I'm going to grab my wild honey, and that is going to go along with my spiced marmalade. And I'm going to go ahead and start blending that orange color on that wild honey. Such a pretty color. And as you can see, because these colors are more transparent, that they're not really covering up or making the other color fade out. They're just adding some depth to them. And now lastly, I'm going to go in right across that Broken China. And I'm going to put it right over the top. And it really just adds more depth to my card panel. So I'm just going to keep adding in that color. Now I could have left this with no background color, but I had tested this technique before I actually made the video, and I really loved how it came out. So I figured, well, let's make a video out of this so I can show you guys how pretty this turns out. So can you see that? It just amplifies the color. I'm super loving this technique. So cute. Okay, now I'm going to add just a little bit more yellow because I just want to make sure I get the colors kind of even on this. And I'm just going to go back in with the blue, and just to make sure that my card panel has just the same amount of coverage and color on each section. All right, now what I want to do is make sure I get everything covered up and I don't get any of the sparkle spray onto my ink pads. So I'm going to come back in and I'm going to spritz a little bit of that sparkle spray on there, and that's also going to activate and remove some of that so I get some little splotches. So you see how pretty that is? You guys can't see the sparkle. I really wish you could, but it's there, I promise. All right, so now I cleaned everything up, and now I'm going to take a thanks die from my favorite things, and I'm going to cut out a sentiment smack that middle of the panel. I love doing this. I will hook or link some videos that I've done this before. It really makes such a pretty card when you can pop up your sentiments right in the middle of it. So I went ahead and I did that, and you can see how pretty that looks when you just pop out your sentiment in the middle. I'm also going to use the sentiment, and I'm going to cut out some yellow fun foam. Since the panel also has color, I'm going to use color fun foam as well. So I picked the yellow because it's sunny and it's bright. Now, since my thanks is also cut out, I can pop it in there. Now, I could have left it like that, but that's going to really make my sentiment stand up off of my card. So now if you didn't want to, you can just lay the panel back in there and mount it onto your card. But I want to make sure that mine kind of stands up and you can really see it in the card panel. So you guys know me, I always make my card panels, or my cards rather, on Nina Solar White 110-pound cardstock. So I'm just prepping up this paper with a lot of adhesive because it's been bowed just a little bit from the heating of it when I sprayed down the shimmer mist. So I just want to make sure that it's going to stick to my card base. Alrighty, so that looks good. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue my two pieces together. So I've started out using some glitter art glue, and a big old glob came out because I don't have my fine tip needle on there, my fine tip point rather on there. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some of this on the back of each one of these little letters. Now this is a really fun technique to do. You can do it with any background stamp, and even if you don't have background stamps, you can do it if you stamp out a panel and then you cut sentiments in it. You can also do it if you watercolor a panel and you just cut a sentiment out of it. It doesn't have to just be by background stamps. You can totally get creative with this. As long as you're just cutting out a sentiment, you can cut out flowers. Totally up to you. It's kind of, endless with this kind of technique. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and make sure everything is lined up, especially when you're using fun foam. Sometimes when you run it through your die cutting machines, it gets kind of stretched out a little bit. So I'm just going to make sure I get everything lined up. And I just want to make sure that little bit of that T on that arch, I'm going to go ahead and put an acrylic block on there. Now I'm going to go back in, and in some of the tiny areas of my sentiment, I'm going to lay down some multi-matte medium. And this is just because I couldn't get any of the adhesive underneath those areas. So I'm just going to use some multi-matte medium and squeeze them underneath each one of those little areas. So when I do put down my fun foam, everything on the initial card panel is flat. And my sentiment itself is going to be raised up. So I just want to make sure everything else is glued down to my card base. So let me just go ahead and squeeze just a tad bit underneath there. Make sure we have everything from the initial card panel glued down good. I'm just going to grab my tweezers and clean up any extra of the multi-matte medium. All right, now since that is dry, now I can go ahead and put in my sentiment. I'm just going to go ahead and grab my multi-matte medium for this since it's already still on my desk. And I'm just going to go ahead and put some of that all the way around the letters of the fun foam sentiment now. And it works a lot better when you have that tiny, tiny little tip. Instead of trying to use that big old glue bottle. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and grab my tweezers. And that's going to help me get that lined up. And now all I have to do is really just press it into place. And it kind of goes in a lot easier too, because you can actually feel the grooves. All right, look how pretty. And you see the yellow from each side. So it really looks fun instead of just having the white fun foam. So now in each one of the little areas, the A, the K, and the S, I'm going to glue back in those tiny little pieces. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay down some of that multi-matte medium right into the little areas instead of trying to put it on each one of the little pieces. And I'm just going to lightly tap in those little pieces. So just remember, if you're going to do this technique, hold on to those pieces of your sentiment that has like openings so you can insert them back in. And using tweezers really helps this technique. All right, so now those are back in, and see, everything's back together. I want to go ahead and add just a few details. I don't need many on this because the background's really busy. So I'm just going to grab some of my enamel dots that I've made with some perler beads, and I have a yellow, an orange, and a blue, and they perfectly match with my distress inks. And I don't know how I was magically able to make that happen. I was very lucky that my perler beads actually matched. So I'm going to place them down using some of that multi-matte medium. And that is going to finish up the card for today. I hope you guys like this little technique of mine and that you'll try this yourself. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. You guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.